Have you ever wished you could just like know what someone was really thinking? Without them actually like saying a word.
Yeah, like walking into a meeting and sort of instantly getting the vibe, like understanding the unspoken dynamics.
Right. Or like you're talking to a client and you can sense their hesitation even before they actually say anything.
Oh, yeah, totally. There's so much more to communication than just the words themselves, isn't there?
Absolutely. And that's exactly what we're diving into today here on the Deep Dive.
That's right. We take those sources that you, the listeners, send in, and we like really get to the bottom of it. We want to make you well-informed,
Yeah, consider this your shortcut. You want to understand a topic? Boom, deep dive. Done.
Exactly.
So today, we're taking on the art of observation, but from a really cool perspective, a Japanese butler.
Oh, wow. A butler.
Yeah. We're looking at this book. It's called U Share. Okay, I'm going to need you to translate that one for me. Right. It translates to Japan's top butler teaches you how to read people. The author is Araki Shiyuki.
Fascinating. So are we talking like Downton Abbey butlers here?
Not exactly. These butlers serve like world-class VIPs, people who expect absolute perfection.
I can only imagine.
And their most important skill, observation. Being able to see everything, notice every little detail.
Yeah, it makes sense. If you're serving high-profile people, you have to be super tuned into their needs, even the ones they don't say out loud.
Exactly. So what we're going to do today is equip you with some of those techniques so you can become a better observer in your own life.
Awesome. Like practical stuff we can actually use.
Totally practical. Whether it's at work, in social situations, you name it. I mean, imagine being able to read your colleagues like a book or knowing how to connect with clients on a deeper level.
Sign me up.
Let's jump in. So this author, Araki Shiyuki, he actually runs a butler and concierge company, serves these, super demanding clients.
Right, the VIPs.
Exactly. And he emphasizes that being able to like really see what's going on, understand someone's needs before they even say anything. That's like the foundation of top-tier service.
It's like the ultimate form of customer service, I guess.
Yeah. And if we think about our listeners who want to be in the know quickly, well, this is it. You see what's coming before it happens.
You're not just reacting, you're anticipating.
Exactly. And Araki breaks this down into three main abilities, right?
Okay, let's hear them.
Observation power, analysis power, and then hypothesis power. Sounds pretty powerful, right?
I like it. The power trio of observation.
I know, right? And one thing that really struck me is that the book says being observant, having that sharp intuition, it's not necessarily something you're born with. It's a learned skill.
Really? That's encouraging.
Yeah, like even Araki himself, he had to actually work on his communication skills.
Huh. Interesting. So you're telling me anyone can learn to be more observant?
That's what the book suggests. So when we talk about observation power, we're talking about picking up on those subtle signals, like those aha moments,
I love those.
You realize how much we actually communicate without even saying a word. Body language, facial expressions, all that.
It's fascinating how much we pick up on subconsciously.
Totally. And the book gives this great example. Okay, imagine a supervisor ask for a flight Moscow to Osaka.
Okay, pretty straightforward, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Most people would just book it.
Yeah.
But the observant butler, their brain starts going into overdrive. They're thinking, what time was this request made? What's the exact date?
Okay, I see. Getting all the details.
Right. And they'd think, which airport is better for Osaka? Narita or Haneda? And then, okay, maybe suggest a direct flight. What's the weather going to be like when they land? Should I check?
Wow, that's thinking several steps ahead.
Yeah. And they'd even consider, like, maybe the client wants to see Mount Fuji from the train. It's about crafting an experience.
I'm starting to see the difference between just doing a task and being truly observant.
Right. And it highlights how important it is to assign meaning to details, like even something as small as the color of a client's tie.
Okay, so it's not about fashion advice.
Not exactly. The book doesn't give specific meanings for colors, but the point is, pay attention. It's like building this mental drawer in your mind, filled with potential meanings for those observations.
Okay, so every time you observe something new, you sort of file it away in that mental drawer.
Exactly. And don't feel like you have to decipher everything at once. Start with what the book says, and then gradually, add your own observations to those mental drawers.
Right. Small steps. I like that.
So we've got the observing down, but then what do we do with all that information? That's where analysis comes in, right?
Okay, so we've gathered all these observations. Now it's time to make sense of it all.
Exactly. The book defines analysis as the ability to, define those observations clearly, organize that information, and then think about it systematically.
So it's not enough to just notice things. You have to make connections.
Right. And Araki says that even if you've got tons of experience, that's not enough on its own. You need to approach every situation with the mindset that everything happens for a reason.
Interesting. So you're looking for the why behind things.
Yeah. And just like with observation, you got to define things clearly to build that mental drawer.
Okay, got it. Clear definitions, organized information.
Now, on to the last piece of the puzzle, hypothesis power.
Okay, this is where we put it all together, right? We
Yeah.
use what we've observed and analyzed to make predictions.
Exactly. It's not just random guessing. It's informed prediction.
Right, so it's about anticipating what might happen next.
Yeah. And the book even calls it prediction power.
I like that. Sounds very powerful.
And they give a cool example about planning a trip, to Fukuoka. It's not just booking the flight. It's thinking, what if there's a delay? What's the backup plan? Do we need train tickets just in case?
So you're always thinking a few steps ahead, anticipating potential problems.
Exactly.
Mhm.
And they even talk about having another butler on standby, just in case the first one can't make it.
Wow. They really think of everything, don't they?
Right. The book suggests, start small with this. Maybe just try to predict 1 or 2 steps ahead at first.
Yeah, I can see how that would be helpful in all sorts of situations.
Okay, we've laid the groundwork. Observe, analyze, hypothesize. Now the book gets into specific situations. Okay, first up, the workplace. And it starts with something pretty interesting, looking at someone's personal belongings.
Oh, like what their briefcase or their business card holder can tell us.
Exactly. The idea is that the items people choose for work, they actually reflect how much pride they take in their work.
I never thought of it that way.
Yeah, it's fascinating. It's like, say someone signs a contract with a promotional pen, or they just pull a business card straight from their wallet.
Okay, I see. It might suggest they haven't put a lot of thought into those details.
Right. Compared to someone who uses dedicated, thoughtful items. The book says it's less about how expensive something is and more about the thought behind the choice.
Interesting. It's about showing you care about the details.
Exactly. And then the book contrasts this by talking about super high profile people.
Yeah.
They often carry very little themselves. They have assistants for that.
Right.
But those few personal items they do have, they're usually top quality, personalized, really special.
Makes sense. They're making a statement with those few carefully chosen items.
Right. So for our listeners, start paying attention to those little things.
Oh.
What are your colleagues and clients using? And what are your own things saying about you? Think about the thoughtfulness behind the choices.
Okay, I'm going to be checking out everyone's pens and briefcases from now on.
Haha, I love it. Next up, let's talk about meeting times. Apparently, this can reveal a lot about how someone views the importance of the meeting.
Meeting times, like what day and time we choose.
Yeah. So if someone suggests a meeting for Monday or Friday, the book says it might signal they see it as pretty significant.
Okay, why those days specifically?
Well, Monday, fresh start to the week, dedicated focus. And Friday, you can discuss things without that immediate pressure to get things done before the weekend.
Ah, I get it. It's about setting the tone for the meeting.
Exactly. Now, what about the actual time? The book points out some times that are generally preferred, like 10 a.m., 1 p.m., 3 p.m., and 5 p.m.
Okay, I see those times pop up a lot in my calendar. What's the thinking behind them?
Well, those times usually mean the person has blocked out that specific time for the meeting. It's not just squeezed in between other things, like 10 a.m., it's before the day gets too hectic, 1 p.m. right after lunch. 3 and 5 p.m. offer good chunks of time for discussion.
Makes sense. Those times allow for dedicated focus.
Now, here are the ones to watch out for. 11 a.m., 4 p.m., anything ending in .30.
Interesting. So those are potential red flags.
The book says it might suggest the meeting is, lower priority. Like 11 a.m., it's right before lunch. 4 p.m. is almost the end of the day. And those .30 times, especially 1.30, might mean they're squeezing it in around lunch planes.
So it's like they're trying to fit it in wherever they can.
Yeah. There's even a story about a company owner who decided on a business partner based on who suggested a Monday meeting.
Really? That's pretty amazing how much a simple time choice can reveal.
Right. So for you listeners, when you're scheduling, try offering Monday or Friday, along with some other days, and suggest a variety of times. See what the other person picks.
And then analyze their choice based on what we've just talked about. I love it.
Okay, now let's get digital. Scene 3 is all about email signatures.
Oh, interesting. I usually just look at the contact info and that's it.
Well, the book says paying attention to the details of an email signature can give you some insights. Like, if someone includes their title, especially in emails after you've already met, it might mean they want to emphasize their status.
You mean like they're trying to remind you of their position?
Yeah, it could be. The book says it might be a way of seeking validation,
What?
or asserting authority.
Interesting. I guess I've never really thought about it that way. I always just assumed people included their title for clarity.
Right, could be that too.
Yeah.
But the book contrasts this by saying that, like, truly high-status people, they often downplay their titles, maybe for security reasons or just because they're humble.
That makes sense. True power doesn't need to be announced.
Exactly. So pay attention to those titles. If someone's got a very important sounding title, but they're with a smaller organization, they might need a bit more, deference.
Okay, noted. And what about when they include their secretary's contact information?
That's a good point. The book says that can be a signal to keep your communication a bit more formal.
Got it. It's all about reading between the lines.
Okay, let's move on to scene 4, business cards.
I love getting a cool business card. But beyond the basics, what should we be looking for?
The book points out one really interesting thing, whether or not they include a personal cell phone number.
Okay, I can see how that could be significant.
If they do, it can show they're really responsible, accessible, willing to go the extra mile.
It's like saying, hey, I'm available even outside of work hours.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And if it's not there, well, maybe they want to keep their work and personal life separate, which is totally understandable.
Makes sense. We all have different boundaries.
And then the book talks about how the type of contact info a company uses can reveal their priorities. Like if they only give you a general company number, it could mean they want to route inquiries through a central system.
I see. So it's not about being unhelpful. It's about having a specific process.
Right. Maybe they want to protect their employees' time or just keep things organized.
Yeah, that makes sense. Like large financial institutions often do that.
Exactly. So next time you get a business card, really look at it. What information's there, what's missing, and think about what that tells you about the person and their company.
I'm going to start looking at business cards in a whole new light.
Scene 5 is a bit counterintuitive. It's about attending meetings you don't need to be in.
Wait, really? Why would I do that?
Well, the book says when you're in a meeting where you're not directly involved, you can observe things more objectively.
Like you're not focused on your own contributions or agenda.
Right. You can just sit back and see how the dynamics play out, who agrees with who disagrees, the different communication styles.
I see, like a fly on the wall.
Yeah. The book compares it to, like, a sports commentator. They're not emotionally invested in the game, so they can see things more clearly.
That's a great analogy. So it's about being able to observe the patterns and power dynamics without getting caught up in the details.
Exactly. This can give you insights into how meetings work in your company, what works, what doesn't. The book even gives the example of a butler who observed family inheritance meetings so he could advise his employer.
Wow, that's next level.
So if you can, try sitting in on meetings outside your area. Just focus on observing the interactions, especially after important points are made.
Okay, that's a good challenge. Step outside your comfort zone.
Scene 6 is all about note-taking, which seems pretty basic, but the book says it can actually sharpen your observation skills.
I love taking notes, but I'm not sure how that connects to observation.
Well, the key is not just writing down everything. It's about summarizing. It forces you to really listen, filter out the less important stuff, and identify those key points.
So it's about distilling the essence of what's being said.
Exactly. Like writing meeting minutes, but even just informal notes can help. Keeping a work log, even a personal diary.
I like that. It's about training your brain to see the essential.
Right. The book gives the example of butlers who take notes to make sure they're on the same page as their clients. And successful people often keep diaries to reflect on their day, see what really matters.
I've heard that about a lot of successful people. They're diligent note takers.
Yeah. So the advice is to practice summarizing discussions concisely. Maybe aim for one page. Really focus on extracting that essential information.
It's a good way to stay focused and avoid getting lost in the weeds.
Okay, ready for a visual technique. Scene 7 is all about using photos to enhance your observation skills.
Photos. How does that work?
The idea is if you have pictures of important people, clients, colleagues, even your boss, placed where you see them regularly, you'll think about them more.
Interesting. Like subliminal messaging almost.
Kind of. It can lead to a better understanding of their perspective, their needs, their likely reactions. The book says it prompts you to ask yourself, what would they think about this?
So it's about keeping those people in mind even when you're not directly interacting with them.
Exactly. The author's company, they actually put photos on their client file covers for privacy reasons, but they noticed it made the butlers more thoughtful, improved their service.
Wow, that's a really subtle but powerful way to use visuals.
So the takeaway is, put some photos up in your workspace. Use them to remind yourself to see things from different perspectives.
Okay, I'm going to try that. I think I have some spare photos lying around.
Last one for the workplace. Scene 8. And this one's all about experiencing your own company's products or services as a paying customer.
Ooh, interesting. Get a taste of your own medicine.
Haha, exactly. The book says that when you spend your own money, you're going to be a lot more critical and you'll spot areas for improvement.
That makes sense. It's easy to overlook things when you're not the one actually paying for them.
Right. They give an example of a supermarket founder who ate the prepared lunches from his own store and was like, whoa, this needs work.
I can see how that would be an eye-opener.
There's another one about a generator repair company owner. He had to use his own company's service and realized, man, we need to be doing more proactive maintenance visits.
Okay, I'm starting to see the value in this. It's about experiencing your own company from the customer's perspective.
Exactly. And if you can't actually buy from your own company, the book says, try a competitor.
Ah, smart. Get a feel for what the competition's doing.
Yeah, but pay full price. Don't use any employee discounts.
Right, you got to get the real customer experience.
So next time you have the chance, buy your company's product or service. Be that critical customer.
That's a great challenge. Time to put my money where my mouth is.
Okay, we've covered the workplace. Now let's see how we can use observation skills beyond the office. Scene 9 is all about tie colors.
Oh, interesting. I know there's color psychology and all that, but how does it apply to ties specifically?
The book says tie colors can be subtle clues about someone's mood, their personality, even their intentions for the day.
So it's not just about personal style, but more about what they want to project on a given day.
Exactly. Like red often means energy, passion. Blue is more calm, stable. Pink, friendly. Yellow, maybe they want attention. And dark blue, lots of taxi drivers wear it. It projects reliability.
Interesting. So it's like they're sending a subtle message with their tie choice.
Yeah. And it works both ways. You can choose your tie color to influence how people perceive you. Like red for a big presentation, maybe it gives you a boost of energy.
I've never really thought about using color that way, but it makes sense.
So pay attention to tie colors. If you see someone regularly, try to connect their tie choice with their behavior that day. Even watch the news. See what colors people choose for different situations.
I'm going to start noticing ties way more now.
Scene 10 gets into seating arrangements and how they relate to trust.
Seating arrangements. You mean like where someone chooses to sit in a meeting?
Yeah. Say there's one client and two hosts. If the client sits right across from one of the hosts, the book says it could mean they trust that person more.
Okay, so it's about feeling comfortable and open.
Right. But if they choose a seat farther away or like angled towards the group, it might mean they're not so sure about that person or they want to stay neutral.
I can see that. It's about creating a sense of distance or closeness.
The book even says butlers sometimes arrange the seating to benefit their employer. But it points out that, like, directly facing someone isn't always ideal.
Yeah, that can feel a bit confrontational, can it?
Right. Like at a retail counter, it's better to be slightly angled. And sitting next to someone can build closeness.
Okay, I'm going to pay way more attention to seating arrangements from now on. So, what should our listeners do?
Well, in your next meeting, if you sit down first, watch where the other person chooses to sit. If they sit first, notice how you feel about sitting directly across from them, and then see how the interaction unfolds.
Got it. It's all about being aware of those nonverbal cues.
Okay, scene 11 takes us to a cafe. Apparently, even drink choices can give you clues about the success of a meeting.
Drink choices? Really? That's interesting.
It's all about something called the mirror effect. It's our tendency to, like, subconsciously copy people we connect with.
Oh, I've heard of that. Like when you're with a friend and you both end up talking the same way without realizing it.
Exactly. So say you're at a cafe and the person you're meeting orders the same drink as you. The book suggests it could mean they're trying to connect with you.
So it's a subtle way of building rapport.
Yeah. The book even says some butlers will serve the host and guest the same drink without even asking, or they'll match the guest's choice.
That's pretty clever. So if I want to build rapport, I could subtly mirror their drink order.
You got it. Or if you want to see if they mirror your choice, try ordering something a bit less common, like iced tea instead of coffee.
Okay, I'm going to try that next time I'm at a cafe. It's like a little social experiment.
Scene 12 emphasizes using concrete examples in communication. Seems basic, right?
Yeah, but why is it so important for observation?
The book says abstract language can lead to misunderstandings. You think you're on the same page, but you're not. So using specific examples, it clarifies things, reveals different perspectives.
Okay, I get it. It's about making sure everyone's on the same page.
They give a few examples like, what exactly do you mean by high-class restaurant? Name some places.
Right, because everyone has a different idea of what high class means.
Exactly. There's this funny story about a butler who thought going out meant a trip to Hakone, but the client meant Dubai.
Oh, wow. That's a pretty big difference.
And they also tell a cautionary tale about the word friend, which turned out to mean a head of state.
Okay, that's a whole other level of misunderstanding.
So the advice is, when you hear something vague, follow up with, for example, do you mean something like?
That's a great way to clarify things and avoid assumptions.
Definitely. Practice it with friends and family, then start using it at work.
Okay, noted. Concrete examples, check.
This next one is a little different. Scene 13 suggests that experiencing high-end service can help you understand leadership better.
Interesting. How does that work?
Think about staying at a fancy hotel. You have certain expectations, right? And if those aren't met, you're disappointed.
Yeah, totally. You're paying for a certain level of service.
The book says that's similar to how managers feel about their teams. They have expectations, and if those aren't met, well, they're not going to be happy.
Okay, I see the analogy. It's about understanding the pressure and expectations that come with being in a leadership position.
It can also help you see if you're delivering value at work. Are you meeting your manager's expectations? Are you living up to your compensation?
Right, it makes you think about your own performance from a different angle.
So every once in a while, treat yourself to something high-end. It doesn't have to be a fancy hotel. It could be a massage or something. But really pay attention to your expectations as a customer. Then think about how your own performance might be viewed by your manager.
That's a great exercise. It's like stepping into your manager's shoes for a bit.
Okay, we're getting close to the end. Scene 14 is about those little moments of departure. The book says people often reveal their true feelings when they're saying goodbye.
Why is that?
Well, once the meeting's over, people relax, let their guard down a bit. They're more likely to say what they really think.
It's like the pressure's off.
The book talks about journalists who catch politicians off guard when they're leaving and how conversations after funerals are often more honest.
Yeah, when the formality of the event is over, people tend to be more genuine.
So use those moments. As you're walking out of a meeting, ask a follow-up question, one you might not have felt comfortable asking during the actual meeting.
Okay, good tip. It's a more casual setting, so you might get a more honest response.
The book even talks about butlers who use this tactic to gauge their employer's true feelings after an event. They might subtly ask the household staff about it during the departure.
That's pretty smart. It's about gathering information from different sources.
So next time you're leaving a meeting, don't just rush off. Keep the conversation going and pay attention to their body language and tone. You might be surprised at what you learn.
Okay, I'm going to try that. It's those little moments that often reveal the most, isn't it?
Okay, 2 more to go. Scene 15 is about decoding agreement in quoted opinions. The book says if someone quotes another person, they probably agree with that opinion.
That's interesting. So if someone says, well, my boss said we can't do that, they're probably using their boss as a shield.
Exactly. They don't want to take responsibility for the negative response. The book says subordinates might quote superiors to assert authority without seeming disagreeable.
It's like saying, don't blame me, blame the boss.
Right. But they also warn that sometimes the person might not have actually said those exact words, or the context could be different.
So it's not a foolproof method, but it's something to be aware of.
Yeah. So when you hear a quoted opinion, assume it reflects the speaker's own view. And if you're bold, you could even try tactfully verifying the original source later on.
That's a good point. Sometimes it's worth digging a little deeper.
Okay, last one. Scene 16. It's about vague answers and how they often hide something important.
Vague answers, like when someone just gives you a non-committal response.
Exactly. The book suggests that people avoid direct answers when they want to hide something negative or they don't want to be disliked.
Yeah, that makes sense. It's easier to be vague than to say something that might upset someone.
Like in a sales situation, if they say we're considering a few options, it probably means they're not really interested in yours.
Oh, I hate those non-answers.
Right. And the book is a personal example, like, if you're not really interested in the car, you give the salesperson vague answers.
It's a way of disengaging without being rude.
And the butler's approach, sometimes they don't push for specifics if the person is being vague on purpose, but other times, gently pushing or asking again later can reveal the truth.
So it's about reading the situation and knowing when to push and when to back off.
Right. There's an example about a contractor who gave a vague answer about informing the neighbors about construction noise. Turns out he hadn't contacted them at all.
Oh, that's sneaky.
So the advice is, pay close attention to those vague answers. What topic are they avoiding? What might they be hiding? Maybe try rephrasing the question or asking again later.
Okay, I'm going to be listening for those vague answers from now on. They're definitely a red flag.
We've covered a lot today, and I hope our listeners are feeling, like they've got some new tools in their observation toolkit.
Absolutely. We've gone over the basics: observe, analyze, hypothesize. And we've looked at some really specific situations, from tie colors to seating arrangements to email signatures.
And hopefully you've got some new shortcuts to being more informed, having those aha moments and just feeling less overwhelmed by all the subtle cues we encounter every day.
And the best part is, these are skills you can practice and get better at over time.
So next time you're in a conversation, don't just listen to the words, really observe. What else are they communicating? What can you learn from their body language, their choices, their tone of voice?
It's amazing what you can discover when you start paying attention to those little things.
It really is. You might uncover some surprising truths and gain a whole new understanding of the people around you.
And who knows, it might just give you that edge you've been looking for.